What's up, Cougar Nation, and welcome again aboard the Hype Train podcast. I'm your host, Joe Wheat. That's at Joe Wheat27 on Twitter. As always, with my boys Hunter Miller and Trevor Levitt. We are presented by Wilner O'Reilly Immigration Law. And Hunter, I got a question. On a scale of Arizona to TCU, where was the anxiety meter? Or I guess from TCU to Arizona, where was the anxiety meter for you on that Sunday football game?
I mean, it was BYU, Utah levels. It was.
Like, can you imagine how stressed you would have felt if the Patriots game was actually one of the good playoff games of the weekend?
Here's the thing, and I know this to be true because I lived it multiple times this year. The Patriots, like when they were playing the Jets like a few weeks ago and it was 42-3 at halftime, still when Breece Hall like had a big 50-yard touchdown run in the second half, I was like, well, here we go again. Like there's no peace for me until the clock hits zero. The Patriots could have been up 100 points in the third quarter and I still would have been nervous until mathematically the Chargers were out of it.
Look, no one gets that more than me, because when like the angriest I was all season long was when West Virginia scored that touchdown to go down 14 with under a minute to go on that Friday night game. It's like 2 a.m. on the East Coast. I spent all day at Disney World. I stayed up for this game expecting BYU to blow this team out, and they give up, this late touchdown. Like my nerves were at 100. Like I can't explain it. There was no way West Virginia was going to win that game, but I totally get it.
If I could explain the anxiety levels, it was as if BYU was playing Utah in the Big 12 championship game with both teams undefeated and only one spot in the playoffs up for grabs. Like that was the anxiety levels. And then they lasted until Drake May until Travion Henderson got the first down under the 2-minute warning. Because like even when they sacked Justin Herbert to get the ball back, it still was like, well, the Chargers still have a couple timeouts. let's hold our horses here. But the anxiety was very much high, and explaining to my wife that we will be doing it all again on Sunday and hopefully all again on the Sunday after that, she was not too happy because it's been a while. It's been 6 years.
Look, you BYU fans that also have like NFL teams, you have my utmost respect, because my heart could not handle being that close to death for 2 days in a row. Like
I know no peace in my life.
Maybe you're like me. A couple years ago, I had to stop and ask myself the question: do I actually enjoy watching BYU football? And the answer unequivocally is no. I love talking about BYU football. I love the aftermath of a BYU win, but no, I do not like watching BYU football unless it's like 3 weeks before the season and I'm doing film study on like Illinois State or whoever it was, that Southern Illinois that we played last year, like Trevor does.
I had a come to Jesus moment like that too recently, of like realizing the emotion that I feel following a win isn't joy, it's relief. And I'm like, why do I care and enjoy this so much? Of like, I'm miserable for 3 hours. Like, don't talk to me. Like, I don't want to talk to anybody else. I'm anxious. I'm stressed. And then it ends in a victory. And the thought process isn't like, I'm so happy. It's like, thank goodness they didn't lose.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's like, and so I'm going through that process right now of like rewiring. And the Sunday night was tough. Like, it was a tough, like I had to like convince myself to like be happy when they won instead of just being like, okay, phew, they won, they're on to next week, they survived. Drake May took the knee and I was like, okay, like go like be happy, and like trying to like coach that into myself so that it doesn't end in this experience of like 3 hours of misery and then just like, thank goodness that's over.
And I mean, part of that, I feel like it has to be like our involvement on like X, right? Like I think like the relief for me is knowing that I don't have to watch like fans of like Utah or whoever we played parade around over our dead carcass from that weekend. Like,
Yep.
And it's the dumbest thing because it's like two friends at work that are like, well, there's more than two. There's three friends at work that are like big 49ers fans. And so we always just like have a playful like banter back and forth, especially with the 49ers in recent years, like going to Super Bowls and stuff like that. And this year, finally, it was like the Patriots were good and the 49ers were good. And I was like, the 49ers won on Saturday, or they won Sunday afternoon. And then I go into the Patriots game being like, if the friggin' Patriots lose and the 49ers had won earlier that day, and I have to go into work on Monday, and it's just like they're excited, they're talking crap, 49ers, Brock Purdy, this and that, and then the Patriots had lost, it would have been not fun. And so it's like, again, one of those things where like Twitter's the same way, right? Like you don't want your team to lose and then you have to like go watch everyone else be like, this is so great, look at what my team did, or like talk trash on your, like it's just, I don't know. And it's like I said, it's one of those things where I like have to coach myself out of it because I've felt it like growing over the last couple of years.
Like there's affirmations I tell myself during games. Like there's affirmations I tell myself before games. Like, it's just a game. I'm just gonna have fun. This is really all just to, celebrate my university and all the wonderful memories I had at my time at school there. And the moment that ball kicks off, man, it's like, no, I am at war for the next 3 hours. And like and like it, and literally like I told you guys this on the last episode that like when BYU, when sweet Cody Hagan dropped that kickoff, I left the house. Like I didn't walk out with shoes. Like I walked back inside and I got leaves stuck to my socks. Like it was not something that an adult in his 30s should be behaving like. Like all I was missing was like the stick with the sack on it. Like I was truly a poor wayfaring stranger walking down the streets of Corona, California, just looking for any kind of relief. And that was me knowing that BYU was going to come back and win the game. Just imagine if BYU's ever bad again, which we know is not going to happen, but
yeah, I mean, what was the behavior like on Saturday night with BYU versus Utah basketball? Like you're expecting this to be a cakewalk game. It never is in the Huntsman Center for whatever reason.
No.
Like BYU could have the number one team in the country and Utah could be winless. And for whatever reason in the Huntsman Center, despite it being half full of BYU fans, is always going to be a difficult game. And I had to tell myself like it's one of those situations again, where BYU wins that game. They only win it by a few points. You're thinking they should have won by 20. But it's a relief. Like okay, they didn't get upset, right? Like but it wasn't like a yay, my favorite team beat their rival. It was like, thank goodness my favorite team didn't lose to their rival. What? And you have to I had to tell myself like BYU hasn't won in Salt Lake City in the Huntsman Center for like several years. Like just coming out with a win there is like progress, and it's better than last year BYU was a Sweet 16 team and they lost in that environment. You got like coaching myself up to being like, hey, like a win is a win, enjoy it. They are hard to come by, right? Like there's only so many victories throughout the season, enjoy them as they come. And yet BYU is in a dogfight with Utah and you're like, this could be catastrophic for my my evening.
Like, my life is over.
And for me, it's like, and it's been this way with all BYU sports the last 2 years because they've been so good. The emotion I'm feeling is just frustration, because it's not like, oh my gosh, I think we might lose. Like there was no doubt in my mind that BYU was going to win that game over Utah. It was just pure frustration of like, how are we only up 5 right now? How are we only up 4? We're up 13. I know that at some point Utah's going to make another run. Like it was just, again, it's there's no fear. It's all just anger. And I think that's when I talk about like not enjoying watching BYU sports, like there have been a lot of times where like I haven't watched a ton of BYU basketball just because it's too much anxiety. Like there's too many swings in a basketball game that like my heart can't take 40 minutes of like up and down, back and forth kind of action, especially when BYU is playing the 130th ranked team in KenPom and I have to sit there and pretend like, there's no bad wins in the Big 12, but gosh dang it, BYU gave it their best shot.
Basketball is tough because there's no like build up. It's just like 1,000 cuts.
Yeah,
right?
and
Or like football, there's like a sustained drive. Like you can kind of see it building. You can see the end result coming. Basketball is just
downtime.
Like there's downtime. Basketball is just like so fast paced now, so up and down. You don't get a chance to breathe, and it's just like event after event after event happening, and there's no way to ever like catch up and catch your breath.
But like as much as football just freaks me out 90% of the time, there is no worse feeling than your team being up 15 points and just watching the opposing team walk you down in a way where they just can't miss, where it's like every single time like they get a stop, every time down the floor, it's a bucket, it's a foul, it's a three. And every time they put up a shot, you're just like, I know this is going in. There's nothing you can do about it. Like there is no worse feeling as a fan base than watching your team being on the wrong end of a 16-0 run.
There's a worse. May I counter with worse? There's no worse feeling as a fan than watching your team give up a 16-0 run in a game that's officiated by Tony Padilla.
Oh my God.
That's the worst.
The guy who called a foul with no time left on the clock.
The goal. You thought like the goaltend was
like,
going to be the worst part of that game. Like a foul on the rebound. It wasn't like even like
the clock had expired already.
The clock had expired, and it was the foul was on a rebound, and he's like, "Nope, we got it. Head to the monitor."
In a 5-point game, it like has zero bearing on just
Tony's zero bearing on the
letter
spread.
Of the law. Like Tony Padilla was the missionary that only taught out of the Old Testament. We all knew that guy, but that is Tony Padilla.
He just finds any possible opening he can to just suck the fun out of anything. Like
it's 6:30, it's 6:31, alarms going off, and he's throwing water on you. That's what we're dealing with here.
Like the Hunter, you're talking about it, like the sigh of relief. Like the sigh of relief in this game could have been enjoyed with a side of AJ DeBonsa and Keba Keita, jumping into each other and celebrating and celebrating. But no, like Tony Padilla has to get on the mic and tell everyone like the game's not over. Just for him to get back onto the mic and be like, oh, actually the game is over. I just had to catch up to what everybody else knew. But at that point,
It's not over till I say it's over.
Yeah, like if you're jumping around and celebrating and all this stuff, like obviously the game's probably over either way, but if I'm jumping around and expending all this energy and then come to find out that Utah's shooting 2 free throws, like I'm going to feel like an idiot, right? So we all sit there and wait to find out that we should have been jumping and celebrating the whole time.
So is like, the coughing baby versus hydrogen bomb meme? Is it like, is the equivalent like Tony Padilla versus Sugar Bowl refs?
Which one's the hydrogen bomb in that?
I don't know. Maybe it's coughing baby versus coughing baby. I don't know. But
or just hydrogen bomb versus hydrogen bomb.
Like just do not let Tony Padilla get his hands on college football. Okay, so the other reason I didn't want BYU, and even though they won, of course, I to your point, Trevor, had to log into Twitter and read about 15,000 different variations in my comments of BYU spent $15 million on this roster and they beat the worst Utah team in recent memory by only 5. Like,
I don't even know if that's true.
That goes to show how little basketball these fans watch if they think this is the worst team in recent memory, because I could probably name about 5.
But that's kind of my point here. That's like a scheduled tweet annually lately in both like football and basketball. So at what point do we just acknowledge that that's indicative of the direction that Utah athletics is heading? I think that's my first question from this game.
If you want a synopsis of the direction Utah athletics is heading, it came in the form of Morgan Scalley with a microphone trying to address Utah fans and being drowned out with "Let's go Cougars" chants.
Classless.
And then Utah fans taking to Twitter to be like, "Oh my gosh, look how classless!" Trying to compare. I saw one trying to compare Morgan Scalley talking to fans during a timeout to that of BYU's opening prayer at athletic events,
Oh
which
my!
in and
Are
of
you
itself
serious?
is a preposterous, absolutely preposterous.
It's so
comparison.
Like they do treat their coaches like deity, and their other coach did fall from heaven, supposedly.
it
but
is
just
so.
like
Go
the
ahead.
fact that, and then they're like attacking like their current or their former coach, and then they're going onto Twitter to defend their new coach, but wouldn't go as far as to attend a basketball game and to support the current coach at the basketball game, and that's why there were so many BYU fans there. Like, it was the perfect.
I mean, it's an easy solution, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that is
go to the game.
That is kind of the most internet warrior thing, is to complain about, be sitting on your phone on your couch complaining about something that happened at a game you didn't attend. Like, it's an easy solution. It's not like tickets were that expensive. Like,
I mean, they released tickets
this is
for
your
$30.
Super Bowl, and you let opposing fans fill up half your arena.
My favorite tweet.
You have the gall to complain that they would. It's not like they were cheering like "F Utah," right? Like it's not like it was some vulgar. They were cheering on their own team. Like, it was the most BYU thing to not like hate on your opponent, but to rather celebrate yourself while your opponent is having a moment. And like, there's nothing classless or offensive about what BYU did, but still, I still hear the classless BYU fans are so entitled, self-absorbed. And it's like, no, we paid to go to the game. Like, we have more fans in your own city than you do.
Walk in your trap, take over your trap.
And drown out your trap. Like, apparently,
it's like Utah basketball exists to give BYU hell one night a year in the Huntsman Center, and then it goes back to being a Spirit Halloween the other 364 days.
and to give Utah gymnastics an arena to perform in.
Sure.
To your point, Joe, my favorite tweet of the night, classic Boney, was they had that new player from Spain, like Langarita or whatever, who came in and tore things up before unfortunately going out with an injury. But Boney just saying that Langarita is going to be so confused when he shows up to the next game and there's no one there.
Yeah.
Well, did you see Rob Wright after the comment? Like, I played here with Baylor last year and it was an empty gym. Yeah. And now he's here with BYU and it's packed full. My favorite tweet, I can't say, but
was it AJ who said that this was the most hostile environment he's played in since high school?
Yeah, there's no way.
But I think that goes more to say like that high school arenas are more vicious. If this is comparative to,
I mean, it's only like their second like real road environment they've played in all year.
They took the wind out of Manhattan pretty quick. So I guess
they played in Boston against UConn, and then
neutral court.
Technically neutral court. Also just an NBA arena, like NBA arena type crowd. So yeah, Kansas State and then this. So he's like, yeah, it's the most hostile that I've played in since high school. And the last road game I played in was high school, basically. Who did Utah Prep play last year?
I'm not that well versed. So let's talk about like the actual basketball of it. We haven't really talked BYU basketball at all on this channel. BYU is what, 15-1,
longest win streak in program history. I saw competing
ranked 11th in KenPom, 11th in the AP, 9th in net. Projected to be a 3 seed in the NCAA tournament. We're about halfway through the season. Just, I guess, real quick, give me your guys' takeaways from the first half of the BYU season.
Yeah, I think right on schedule. I figured with as good as Rob Wright is and as good as Richie is, and AJ has obviously fit the bill and then some as he's come in. The expectation was that Kevin Young was going to make the front half of this basketball schedule harder to prepare for the back half. And so, as confident as I was in this team being talented and winning games, I figured that there would probably be another loss in there, maybe a third. You probably lose to UConn. Miami's good, Clemson's good. You just by nature of scheduling like more quad one games, the purpose of a quad one game is to look really good on the resume if you win, and then to not hurt you as really at all should you lose. And so the fact that BYU was able to get through this entire first half of the season with one loss by 2 points to a top 5 team in the country, I might even say they're ahead of schedule. And so they look prepared for the Big 12. They've started off 3-0. They're obviously going to hit a pretty brutal schedule. Angela mentioned obviously earlier that they're going to be playing at Kansas, who just smoked Iowa State at Kansas. So there's going to be significant challenges, but because of the tests that this team has already faced and overcome at the beginning of the season, I think they're battle tested and ready to roll.
I think we all knew that this BYU basketball team is going to be really good. Like, they obviously, when you add the number one player in high school, you return Richie Saunders and Keba Keita, you bring in a transfer like Rob Wright, that like this is a talented basketball team. We talked before the season that like Sweet 16 should probably be the floor of expectations. I feel like they've already surpassed expectations that they could have to this point. To be 15-1, that one loss coming in a de facto road game to one of the top teams in the country by 2 points in an early season matchup. Like, if they played today, the game probably goes a little bit differently. And dare I say, BYU wins that game. I did not expect them to be setting this kind of pace, to be breaking these kind of records. AJ DeBansa making college basketball history this early on into his career. Like, the first full month of his college basketball career was the first month that a college basketball player had ever done this or that, or there was 100 different stats. It felt like like the expectations for this BYU basketball team were the highest of any BYU basketball team ever. And they've surpassed it to this point. Obviously, there's a lot of basketball yet to be played. You still have majority of the conference slate and then the NCAA tournament, but they've done everything that they can in their power right now to date to be ahead of schedule, to be ahead of the expectations. And, if things can only get better, it feels like, with how Rob Wright is growing into his role, how AJ DeBansa is getting a feel for the game. I think the lone red flag and shortcoming of this BYU basketball team is just their depth, especially off the bench, to no fault of their own. They did not expect that Nate Pickens wouldn't be able to go. They didn't expect Dawson Baker to get hurt in the non-conference play. And that's really the one thing, is that off the bench, you're kind of having to rely on the big three. And then it's a lot of question marks and hoping that Boscovich has a game like he had against Kansas State, or hoping that Maroos has a game like he had a couple of weeks ago. It's basically Richie, Rob, AJ, go do your thing. Keita, please don't get in foul trouble, and cross your fingers that one other guy has a good game. The genius of it, though, is that the big three are going to go out there and deliver every single time. Like, it's the first time that NCAA teammates, 3 teammates have had 20 plus each in consecutive, 4 or 5 consecutive games in college basketball this season. Like, these guys are the ones that are going to come out and deliver. They are the ones that can carry this basketball team. And it feels like as they continue to gel, learn how to play with each other, and AJ just gets a feel for the game, it's just gonna, like, I don't know how it can get better, but it feels like it is going to get better.
I was blown away, like, specifically just the feeding off of each other. It was so clear, like, just going back to the Utah game, that they were going to throw 3 or 4 guys at AJ, and he still managed to get 20. And yet he was also finding Rob and Richie just consistently for either a wide open three, or because of the pass he would make to Rob Wright, like one of the guys triple teaming him would have to try and close out on Rob and he'd just blow by. Like this team is so talented, but the thing that Kevin Young has done up to this point that has made his signing here already well worth it and then some is the fact that you've taken 3 guys that you take them and you put them on any other team and they're the go-to guy by themselves night in, night out, and you've made them all play as a team. Like I saw the breakdown, like over conference play so far, like Rob and Richie have had 68 points and AJ DeBonsa's had 67. Like, it's just so clear that there's not one guy that's just taking, the brunt of the offensive load as far as like expectations with scoring. Like it's whoever's available, get them the ball, have them score. And the other 2 are okay with that because they know that eventually it's coming around and it's going to get to them as well. And so to see that level of maturity from 3 college kids, 2 of which I think are under the age of 20, like it's impressive.
It's crazy that AJ DeBanza had 20 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists on 55% shooting from the field, and we kind of left thinking not his best game. And Utah fans were literally chanting overrated, which that again speaks to a lack of ball knowledge up in Salt Lake City. But it's like, how good can this guy be when his bad games, quote unquote bad games in comparison to what he delivers typically, is a measly 26-4 on 55% shooting, right? Like it's incredible the ceiling that he has. And we've seen the ceiling. It's 30-point triple doubles. Like that's how good he can be when he just wants to take over a basketball game. And the beauty of it right now is doesn't really have to. Like he did in the second half against UConn when he did have to. And dare I say that's the only time this season in which it was like, hey, AJ, we really need you to carry this team for a bit because no one else can really seem to get it going. Because when there seems to be lulls offensively, Rob Wright like jumps right in and is like, hey, let me take over real quick. Let me get you a quick 6 points. The other team's gone on a little bit of a run. Utah's cut the lead down to 4. Let me go get you a few buckets in the mid-range with some turnaround and, dribble past defenders. Or Richie's like, let me go get you a quick 8 offensive rebounds and keep our offense in rhythm and keep the points coming. So, like, I don't know, man. You talk about where this BYU basketball team is currently and where they can get to. There's nothing that they've shown all season long that makes me think that they're not going to reach the astronomically high preseason expectations that we've put on them.
And really the only thing I think that can keep them from getting there is just how ludicrously good the top of the sport has been. Like we're expecting BYU to, like before the season, we were thinking this could be a Final Four type team. BYU might be the 4th best team in the Big 12 conference. Like you got Iowa State, who just took their first loss tonight, but coming in, they were 15-0. Arizona was 16-0. Houston and BYU were both, a combined 29-1. Like this league is like the top of the sport is just so much better than it has been in previous years. Like where BYU is at in KenPom, they would be the number 2 team in the country in like any year in the early 2020s. Like that's how ridiculous the top of the sport's been. But
the problem is like you're talking the top of the sport. The difference is that BYU is at the top of the sport. Right?
Oh yeah,
This isn't like the football season where BYU was winning games, but you knew that there was a clear like fall off between, it was clear after that first Texas Tech game of, okay, there's the top of the sport of like Ohio State, Indiana, Oregon, Texas Tech. And then there's a drop off. And that's probably where BYU's at, is after that drop off. When we're talking basketball, like, yeah, they're number 11 in the country, which is lower than what the football team was. But BYU can beat any of the teams ahead of them. Like we just saw Wisconsin go on the road and beat Michigan, who was number 2 and undefeated. BYU beat that Wisconsin team by 30 points. Yeah. Like BYU can beat anybody on any given night.
So My biggest takeaway is that the Brig 3, the Swish It Brick, the Squad Head, the 3-and-D fights, whatever you want to call them, this is
Squad Head's pretty good.
not only
Fluffy.
not only do they not only are they the best big three in the country, they might be one of the best big threes that any college basketball team ever has had. Like you can pencil them in on any given night to put up 60 combined points. Rob Wright is averaging 17 a game on he would be the leading scorer on about 240 other teams, and he's third on this team in scoring. Like this big three is so good and so dominant that I just expect BYU to score 80 points in just about any game that they play. Because I just don't know what defense is stopping these guys. Like AJ DeBonsa gets out of bed with 16 points. And if he gets fouled twice, he ends up with 20. Like every time he's just so long and athletic that every time he gets the ball at the 3-point line, it's one dribble, get to the paint. It's either going to be a bucket or foul or probably both. Like he's virtually unguardable in a way that I just don't know that BYU has had. Like last year's team was great. They didn't have three go-to scorers like this, where if one of the scorers is off, like, hey, AJ's off tonight. Rob, you got to go get us a bucket. Richie, you got to go get us a bucket. On any given possession, they got three guys that I feel confident can create their own shot, get to the free throw line, get to the rim, or heck, just knock down a three. Like Rob Wright and Richie are both averaging over 45% from three this year. One of my takeaways earlier in the season was, well, maybe BYU just doesn't have the shooting that they did because they're not putting up the same volume that they have the last 2 years. BYU is shooting a higher percentage from three than they did last year. Like this team can still shoot. It's just really two guys that are taking all the shots.
I was going to say, there's a fourth guy on the floor that I have the confidence in making a shot. I don't think he can necessarily go out and create a shot, but to have four guys on the court of like, if AJ were to drive and get into trouble and find Kennard Davis, I also have faith in Kennard Davis that he will knock down the shot, right? Like it's such a, or even like, dare I say, even a fifth with Kada like rolling to the rim. Like there's,
I mean, that's the crazy thing with Kennard is like Kennard was a 16 a game scorer last year. I mean, he's averaging 7-8 points, and honestly, he's kind of been a little disappointing from what I kind of expected. Obviously, he's had a rough season off the court, but like as the season goes, hopefully Kennard starts to find his shot. Because if he does, like there's nothing that you can do to keep this BYU basketball team from scoring 80, 90 points. And you just got to hope that you're hitting shots that night. That's kind of what I expect from this basketball team. But in previous years, it was, is BYU hitting their threes or are they not? If they're hitting 10 threes, they win the game. That's not this team. Like this team is not reliant whatsoever on the three. If those shots aren't falling, like BYU shot 6 for 25 against Utah from the 3-point line, and they still scored 89 points. Like that's what's so different about this team is just their ability to score on you in a multitude of different ways. One thing that kind of I felt like this team struggled with early on that I think they're starting to get in their stride a little bit more is passing. Like early on, it felt like this team was just kind of taking turns where AJ gets a possession, Rob gets a possession, Richie gets a possession. And that was to be expected, where their assist rate through the first, 7-8 games was under 50% in like 6 of them. That this team had the highest, the top 30 in assist rate last year. They were really struggling to pass early on. And now over the last 6 weeks to a month, they're back into that top 30 in assist rate because AJ is becoming more of a playmaker. Rob is starting to pass a little bit more. Richie is getting on those offensive boards and kicking out. Keba Keita is becoming a much bigger lob threat. It's just everything about this BYU basketball team right now tells me that this team is just now settling into their roles, and everyone knows their roles and is happy with it. Like it's great when, everything is obviously great when it's winning, and we'll see what happens if they lose a game or two in a row, which I highly doubt, just because we're the Hype Train podcast. But like, Keba Keita just feels perfectly content to me to score his 6 points on dunks and just send 6 shots into the second row. Like that, I love that about him. Ahmed, the G League guy,
beat up.
I don't know how to feel about that, but like, he is, again, perfectly content to get his 5 blocks, 5 boards in 10 minutes, and then that's it. Hadim Boop seems really fine to just kind of be on the floor filling his role, and being that kind of glue guy. Everything about this team is like, they know that the big three are the guys, and for them to play winning basketball, they got to play defense and they got to rebound, and everyone's doing that to a T right now.
You want to know something crazy?
Yeah.
Rob Wright, I think sneakily one of the more underrated parts of this BYU basketball game.
If he wasn't at BYU,
Wright.
He'd be an All-American. Like, that's how good he's
just
playing
in general. But his shooting, he's the best 3-point shooter on the team. He's made as many threes already through 16 games this year as he did through 35 games for Baylor a season ago. And I'm double checking this because this feels kind of crazy. If he keeps up his shooting percentage, anyone want to take a random guess on what Rob Wright is shooting from three?
Well,
I think it's like 47%.
46.3%. And that's not like on some like scrub. Like, he's taking over 4 threes a game.
He's just
if he finishes with this percentage, it will be the second best 3-point shooting percentage in a season in BYU basketball history, just behind Jake Toolson in the 2019-20 season. Better than Alex Barcelo, better than Chase Fisher, better than Richie Saunders, Jimmer Fredette.
I mean, what's Richie shooting?
Emery.
He's got to be shooting like 42, 43%, right?
Richie Saunders is currently right now from 3 shooting.
I know he was like 41%.
41.
Yeah.
40.9.
And it's like he's kind of had a bad start to the season in terms of shooting. So it's like, we're a little spoiled.
Richie is second, I think.
But it's
among qualified. Like, number one was Dawson Baker, who obviously is no longer playing this year. But it's just that's how good this team is you have a guy who's putting together what would otherwise be one of the best basketball seasons individually at BYU, and he's like number 3 on this team. Like, AJ is the number 1 guy, and then you have Richie, and then it's Rob Wright, who, if he was on BYU in 2017, he'd be the greatest BYU basketball player since Jimmer.
We got 2 Mount Rushmore caliber guys on this team. That it's nuts. 2 years ago, BYU made the NCAA tournament as a 6 seed with 6 quad 1 wins. Currently, as things stand today, BYU has 5 quad 1 wins. Like, last year, BYU didn't get their first. BYU season last year started on like February 1st. That's when they got their first quad 1 win. BYU's already got 5. Like, they're pretty much already a lock for the NCAA tournament if they lost all of their remaining quad 1 games, which I don't expect them to. But BYU
barring losing every game the rest of the season.
I was gonna say they have an opportunity at like 14 more.
Yeah, like BYU's got in their next 15 games, they got 10 quad 1 games.
What's the most quad 1 wins BYU's ever had in a season?
I think it was last year they had 10.
That was the most?
Yeah. So if BYU splits their next, 5 quad 1 games, they'd be 10-6 in quad 1 and probably looking at a 5 seed, maybe a 4 seed in the NCAA tournament.
Are they still favored in like every game except for the road Arizona game?
Oh, let's actually double check that. I can tell you right now. So according to KenPom, the only games they're not favored in is at Texas Tech. They are projected to lose by 1. At Kansas, they're projected to lose by 2. At Arizona, they're projected to lose by 1. Or sorry, at home against Arizona, and at Arizona, they're expected to lose by 9. So it's like the rest of the league is not,
BYU wins 3 of those 4 games.
yeah. So it's like so it's like
Put it down.
www.tossup in 3 games, and then the only game you're really expected to lose is at Arizona, which BYU went and won there last year. So why not with the number 1 player in the country? BYU's depth, they really don't have any.
Don't need it.
Like I think, what is it? The Big Three is 66% of the points this year. I actually don't think that's a bad, like BYU fans are accustomed to like going 10 deep, having they've become accustomed to like no drop off between the starters and the bench. Welcome to the new age, friends. Teams that have a deeper rotation typically don't go as far in March. Once things hit March, you need a core of 6-7 guys that can carry the load for you, and BYU's definitely got that. So I think in terms of actually winning in March, I mean, it seems redundant to say that this is the team that is best built to make a run of any team I've ever seen,
unless you ask Alex Markham.
I was gonna just say there, unless you ask some friggin' bozo.
Look, I don't take insight. I don't take basketball insight from fans that watch 1 game a year, and I don't take football insight from fans that of teams that haven't produced an NFL draft pick at quarterback in the last 20 years.
I mean, frankly, when he said they weren't a tournament team, I was like, well, with your track record, they might be the best team in the country.
I had someone
stamp of approval.
It was kind of funny. Like, we can talk about, the Utah's downfall in a second, just because I prayed for it. But earlier today, someone did like a blind resume of like Dampier and Bachmeier and said like, who would you rather have? And I said like unequivocally Bachmeier, and kind of laid it out for him.
If B was a true freshman, then unequivocally.
Yeah. And his point was like, your analysis on Dampier is just wrong. And I said, dude, literally yesterday, you said that you were lying to everybody about what a great coach Kyle Whittingham was. What are you lying about today? Like, if Dampier entered the portal today, what would your take be about Dampier? Like, you'd be on my side of all this. How do I know that? Because you're now on my side about Whittingham. Like, it's
never wrong.
And we've been on that. We've been on it for years.
Oh, I need to find it.
If you had given me the odds that Joe's rant about Kyle Whittingham following BYU's win over Utah could be said by both BYU and Utah fans alike,
like
in January of 2026.
So valid. For the last 5 years, it's just been a nonstop stretch of, why are you booing me? I'm right. And now they admit it. It's so great. This is a very popular Ute account said, so grateful I no longer have to pretend that a man who loses a third of his football games is a great football coach. Been lying to myself and everyone else for the last decade. Like, how many times in the last 5 years have I brought up that Utah's best season of all time was 10-4? How many times have I brought up
the tweet?
It's really hard. Like, they'll always say, BYU hasn't ever won a conference championship in a P4 league. I'm like, well, some P4 leagues are too difficult to win while losing 3 games in a season.
4.
When
Joe realized the Utah tweet where it's like, hey, we just won 11 games for the 4th time in program history. Joe coming to that realization in the chat was a where were you kind of moment. Realizing that BYU's had
won
more
11 games 3 times in the last 6 years. And this is the 4th time in their history. Golly.
BYU's won 11 games or more in a single season more times since I was like a teenager than Utah has in its entire program existence.
It's bad.
I actually would like to disavow everything Joe said about Kyle Whittingham. I've grown to be quite fond of him over the last few weeks.
He
heck of a recruiter.
Both sides, man. He made some good points.
Yeah. Who am I to complain? That's a good transition over to football talk because BYU added the number one linebacker in the transfer portal.
One
Dog.
Can I one more rivalry thing, because like our people hate Utah as much as I do. It is incredibly funny to me to see them lose a Smith Snowden and a Teo Johnson, who are both 4-star transfers, and have them say, "Oh yeah, it's addition by subtraction. You know, they missed a ton of tackles. We're going to reload." And they're recruiting cornerbacks like we did 7 years ago. Like in the last 24 hours, in the last 24 hours, they signed a JUCO commit who has an 85 rating, and his best offer is Coastal Carolina. And then they also signed a kid from Lamar University. Don't know where Lamar University is.
Is that like the Kanye West school?
I don't know.
Started by Lamar Jackson?
I don't know. Who knows? I think
guess we'll never know.
Is their color.
Donda Academy. I can say that because it was not long ago that BYU basketball was actually recruiting Donda Academy kids. So
yeah. But literally, like, he played last season at Lamar, recorded 0 stats.
It's in Beaumont,
at
Texas.
all. I think he had one interception, no tackles on the season last year, and he is now one of Utah's like 3 cornerback additions. That's their replacement for Smith Snowden. Like these are the days that we prayed for. Like that, getting Cade Uluave from Cal, that guy goes to Utah, you know, the entire 2010s. And it was no question. It was either BYU or Michigan for him. And frankly, I have gotten to the point where I am ready to say that over the next 5 years, BYU's number one rival for in-state talent on the recruiting field is going to be Michigan, not Utah.
Oh, 100%.
Like we're at the point where like it's going to be Utah and Utah State fighting for recruits. Like Utah will get 1 or 2, but like of the top 10 recruits in the state of Utah last year, 5 of them went to BYU. 1 of them went to Utah, and the other one that was committed to Utah is currently at Michigan. Shout out Celeste Moa.
He's going to
BYU legend.
And dare I say, it's not even going to really be like Utah's obviously going to step foot into the state recruiting wise more than they have in the past. Like they've still been in the state of Utah. You know, I knew kids in high school that were getting looked at by Michigan. Like they're going to have a presence, surely. But I still don't think it's going to be that big of a presence just because of the fact that it's like Michigan, their recruiting pool is Chicago and Texas and Florida and California. Like if Whittingham and Jay Hill just say, I'm just going to keep going back to the pipeline of Utah for recruits, like they're going to lose 5-6 games a year in the Big Ten, and they'll be fired in a couple of years anyway. They're still going to go after the big fish in these big ponds. And dare I say that BYU is going to get like 8 or 9 of the top 10
and like
recruits every year. And
Michigan was already recruiting them. Like Jax Tanner our top O-line guy had a Michigan offer. Brock Harris had a Michigan offer. Ryder Lyons had a Michigan offer. The guys that were chasing
the good players are going to get recruited by anyone, no matter what.
But we're reaching the point where BYU is going to be like, it's cool to go to BYU again. And as long as NIL is a thing, and as long as Kalani Sitake is there, and that's, man, the other thing I got to say, BYU went head to head with Michigan for the number one linebacker in the portal. Like Jay Hill is over there, by the way. And the number of times I've had to hear over the last year that like, you know, all BYU's recruiting success, including getting Ryder Lyons somehow, was all Jay Hill. Kalani Sitake just subbed Jay Hill in a locker for Cade Uluave. So.
Well, I was just going to say, like, BYU and Utah or BYU and Michigan are going to go head to head in recruiting battles. They've gone head to head in recruiting battles for both players and coaches this offseason. And dare I say, BYU lost 2 rounds of that like 10-round fight.
It's and at the end of the day, the question is still, would you rather play for Kalani Sitake or Kyle Whittingham? That's the question you have to answer. And it's not a hard question.
If I'm all the current Utah players, though, I'd want to go play for Kyle Whittingham.
Yeah, they were dumb enough to choose him the first time.
Yeah, just go. Morgan Scalley or Kyle Whittingham.
And it's kind of like I almost feel bad for Utah because like I do like Morgan Scally. Like I think he's a decent guy. By all accounts, like people's interactions with him have been pleasant. I think he'll bring in
Save for
maybe
a couple of
new.
recruits.
Well, I don't know. Maybe you know more than I do, but it's.
Well, I'm just saying, texting wise, I think with a couple of recruits, they didn't have the best experience.
Sure. You dropped that right after I said I like the guy. Like what is that?
No. I do agree. Like he is a likable. Like if he was not wearing Utah colors, like he's someone that I would hope do well. And like by all accounts, he handled that situation.
Maybe he'll come be our defensive coordinator in a couple of years.
Yeah, he handled that whole situation well. It's just a funny thing to But like he is a likable individual who just is at the wrong school right now. And maybe that's a good place for this rivalry to get back to. Like that kind of felt like the McBride
I hope it's Ron McBride and Lavelle Edwards type.
Yeah. Like Kalani tried to do that with Kyle Whittingham. He tried to be like, hey, he's a great guy. He just wears a different jacket, wears the wrong colors. And then Kyle Whittingham would be like, I refuse to acknowledge the existence of anybody.
Of a guy that coached for me.
Yeah. So I do hope that like now it can get to a nicer situation. And like they can go have recruiting battles between Bronco Whittingham and Morgan Scally for the next few years, It
was off to a roaring start in the Huntsman Center. But
I mean, they already took San Jose State's last year was New Mexico. This year is San Jose State, man.
They are building for that Mountain West championship. I'll tell you what.
Mountain West All-Star team going on.
Not only did you bring in a number one linebacker in the portal, but then like 10 minutes later, you're like, here comes another linebacker.
That one was like it shouldn't have been surprising. So like Jake Clifton from Kansas State, really cool story. Joined the church after during his sophomore year at Kansas State. Decided to go on a mission after his sophomore year and found his way to BYU. Was a baller for Kansas State. Like I seem to remember him being a captain. Maybe I was like way off base on that, but like really beloved by his teammates, multiple years of eligibility. Love that pickup. They picked up 3 offensive linemen yesterday. They picked up a 6'6" wide receiver from Oregon. They picked up Walker Lyons out of the transfer portal. Like it's been a haul. Where do you guys want to start? Who's been your favorite addition?
I mean, I think I'd be lying if I didn't say Cade Uluave was like my favorite. Literally before this show started, like was just, if you want to have an enjoyable off season, just like kick your feet up on the couch and just pull up like Cade's highlights. You think of who we lost in Jack Kelly, like just incredible at getting to the quarterback, like getting into the backfield, like creating like all sorts of issues. And he's going to have a ton of success in the NFL. Cade Uluave can do all of those things, but he's also good in coverage. And like his closing speed, whether it be on a receiver, tight end, running back, he's got natural instincts. Like all of these things are just next level talent. And the guy's just a dog. Like half of his highlights are him either like on a blitz getting picked up by a lineman or by a running back, having been assigned because he was the Mike in that situation. And he just blows through those guys like they're not there. Like just whether it's bull rush or, kind of hand fighting and getting around, like the guy is so talented. Jack Kelly was so good at one thing. Cade is like all around just talented and a team captain at Cal. His teammates loved him there. Like the guy is just a workaholic when it comes to like film study and all these different things. He's such a Kalani guy. I'm so excited just to see the kind of next level of, talent that he adds to this defense.
I kind of love that, like the reaction from Cal fans about him leaving to BYU was like, yeah, that makes sense. Like we love him, wish him the best. It's always great when you lose a guy like like just such a high character guy that even the fans that are losing him are happy to see him be at BYU. He's kind of like stylistically, he's built like Siale Acera, but has the pass rush ability of a Jack Kelly. Like he's 6'1", 235, plays middle linebacker, but his pass rush win rate was like 45% this year. Like the guy can move. When BYU signed their 3 offensive linemen, I was thinking about kind of the question is, whenever you get a transfer, it's like, do you get a super high production guy from the G5, or do you get a super high talent guy that maybe didn't produce a lot at the P4 level and like take a flyer on him? In this case, you just combine the best elements of both of those. You got a super highly productive P4 guy, first team all ACC linebacker, that's coming in for his senior year to play at BYU. Like, that's a home run. That's a playoff addition. And that's the kind of guy who, with the depth that we currently have at linebacker, that's going to anchor the next round of BYU's defense. Like, in terms of talent, with the guys that they've brought in and the guys they've brought back, I feel pretty confident that this BYU defense is going to have as much, like, we're going to feel the loss of Jay Hill as a game planner less this year because of the talent upgrades we've made at linebacker and the next step that we're going to get at defensive line from Keanu Tonavasa, Tassili Akana, from Anusi Tamuipeau. Like, with those guys taking that next step, I think the talent of next year's roster can overcome the loss, the brain drain that we're getting from losing Jay Hill. Does that track with you guys?
Basically, we're running it back. You're bringing in Kelly Papinga.
I mean, it's exciting. Like, I don't know if we've really talked about. I don't know if we really talked about K-pop's hire. If that's what it took to, like, maybe there were sexier names that you could have gotten as a defensive coordinator. I have my reservations about Bronco guys just because Broncos defenses have frankly been trash ever since he left BYU. But I'm willing to give it a try because you still got Gary Anderson in the room, because you still got, Sione Puha. Like, you got guys who've been in this system for multiple years that I don't think the schematics are going to all of a sudden become what Bronco was doing at Virginia.
Yeah, I think Gary's going to be the shadow defensive coordinator, at least for the next 2 years. And then let Kelly Papinga kind of grow into the role. But if you wanted to keep this train going, like, yes, there were sexier names out there. You could have brought them in. I think there was a lot of mutual interest between BYU and some external candidates. But guess what? That meant that you're going to lose half the coaching staff. You're probably going to lose a good chunk of players, and you're going to have to rebuild. But the foundation that Kalani has established at BYU with this coaching staff and with this roster, with guys like Evan Johnson and Isaiah Glasker and Falatau Satawala, like the foundation is there to be able to run it back next year, to compete for Big 12 championships for the next couple of years while you build up the resources again, recruiting wise. And the best way to keep that in place was to promote Kelly Papinga. And I think that he has the potential to be a great defensive coordinator. He was the only internal candidate that had prior defensive coordinator experience, right? Like, I think there was a little bit of feelings by some BYU fans that were thinking, if you were going to go internal, why not go with Gennaro Guilford? K-Pop wasn't going to follow Jay Hill. You could have made Guilford the defensive coordinator, and then you would have lost no one to Jay Hill, right? But obviously Kalani felt differently, thought K-Pop was the better candidate internally. I think that has to do with just his approach to the game, his approach to preparation, and his previous experience within the role. But again, I think Gary Anderson is going to be pulling a lot of strings behind the scenes. But it's just, like, I'm sure you guys talked about it last week when I was out sick, but just the sheer fact that we were sitting here a couple of weeks ago and the consensus was, like, who's going to go to Michigan, right? Like, Jay Hill is being talked about as going to Michigan. Oh my goodness, what other coaches and players would follow him? There was a lot of Utah accounts and even Utah quote unquote media people saying hey, like, yeah, Utah's going to lose a lot, but it's actually going to be BYU that suffers the most. And now here we are 2 weeks after the fact, 3 weeks after the fact, and BYU's lost 2 coaches and 1 backup.
And I think, yeah, like you traded, Max Alford for Kate Uluave, which all love and respect to Max Alford. Like,
you make that deal?
That was Michigan's backup plan, man. Like, whenever I saw number 30 come into the game, I got nervous. Like that's the guy. That's the only really guy we lost.
But it's like you've lost your defensive coordinator, and you had like Trey Alexander being like, "We're not going anywhere," and then it was, oh my gosh, like, is Satuala going to follow? And Satuala's like, I'm not going anywhere.
And that was a
foregone. And then you lose your cornerbacks coach, and then your best cornerback comes back a few days later. Is like, I'm not going anywhere. Like,
it's
the re-recruiting and just the retention of these foundational pieces has just been incredible. You've lost some backups, a majority of them like third string, and then like 1 rotational linebacker. And despite losing your defensive coordinator, your cornerbacks coach who had been there for a decade, and it's just everyone's like, no, like I committed. Like I think Trey said, like, I committed to BYU, not to Jay Hill, right? And like that seems to be this culture that exists within the football team of like, hey, like guys are going to come and go, like coaches might leave, but like we're bought in. And, meanwhile, in a different program within the state was absolutely decimated with starters and with coaches leaving. So, I don't think enough can really be said about the job that Kalani and the rest of the staff and the roster, and particularly about the players on this team. Because like the coaches preach the culture. They are the ones who kind of show the players, steer them in that direction. But ultimately it's the players that really make the culture and buy into the culture. And all of those players who have like bought into it and allowed for this situation to exist in which all the players are like, no, like we're bought in, we're here to win. If you're not wanting to win a national championship next year, then you can go enter the portal. But everyone who wants to win, you stick around here because we're going to do a lot of winning next season. I think is really, really cool to see.
And you nailed it. One of the things that really stood out to me, they had obviously K-pop on BYU Sports Nation after he was announced that he was going to be the defensive coordinator. And one of the things that I thought was both very encouraging and also just kind of very educational is they kind of asked him, one of the things that he felt like he learned from Jay Hill that he can replicate now that Jay Hill's gone. And one of the things that he pointed out right away was that, yes, like Jay Hill was the defensive coordinator, but as far as like game planning for the week goes, as far as like insights as to how to attack a certain team or a certain team's offense, or just all like the schematic stuff, it was very much like everyone was included in that. Like Coach Pua, like K-pop, like Gennaro Guilford, like all these guys had a say in what the game plan should be. Jay Hill ultimately was the one that had the final say. And that's not to say, obviously, like I know that I'm sure like Michigan fans or like Utah fans would try to read between the lines and suggest that like Jay Hill's not like that. I'm saying that Jay Hill isn't important or that ultimately it's not going to matter that he leaves. Like I'm not suggesting that at all. Like there was a reason why he had such an impact at BYU. But while he was here, like he encouraged kind of that defense by committee, like having everybody suggest ideas and ways to win football games. And so while Jay isn't here anymore, like Hunter, you mentioned, like Gary Anderson's here. He was the captain that steered the ship previously. Like he learned it from Kyle Whittingham, and you've still got this identity of a defense that, that Jay Hill was a part of, that now that he's no longer here, like Hunter, you mentioned, like Kalani obviously just wanted to keep that identity together. And so he elevates K-pop, all the players who I guarantee, as K-pop's talking about, like, all the defensive coordinators having, or defensive coaches, I should say, having some sort of influence. Like, the players know that too. Like, they're in these meetings, they know that these guys, all have their say. They're recognizing, obviously, that the defense that they're going to be a part of is going to be similar, that it's been successful for them in the past. And so they stick around because they don't have to leave. Like, the defense that they fell in love with, the defense that they had success with, is still here because BYU, like, this is BYU's defense now. This isn't Jay Hill's defense anymore.
And the crazy thing is, like, they're not done. Like, they've brought in 3 starting offensive linemen, 2 interior offensive linemen. You brought in the number 1 linebacker in the transfer portal class of 4-star. You brought in a 3-star from another conference opponent linebacker in Jake Clifton. You brought in a wide receiver from Oregon and a 4-star starting tight end from USC. Like, that's an incredible transfer portal class, and there will be more. Like, I'd be shocked if they don't go out and get a nickel corner. They're going to go out and maybe look at some running back depth. I think there's going to be more players that are coming in than are going out in terms of, like, starting caliber football players on this team. Despite like all the upheaval over the last month, like, your head coach almost leaves, and your defensive coordinator does leave, and then your cornerbacks coach leaves. And despite all of this, you're probably going to be sitting here with a better roster and better players than you were a season ago, when we wrapped up the 2024 season.
It's all Kalani. Like,
it's all Kalani.
It's all Kalani. Like, if BYU, like, when we were talking about, having that debate, should BYU let Kalani walk to Penn State and just promote Jay Hill? If that was the case, BYU would probably look like Iowa State right now.
Oh, 100%.
Like, it's all Kalani. Like, and it was always Kalani. Like, it's the meme with the astronaut and the moon. Like, it
was all Kalani?
It's always has been. And I think, like, even Jay Hill being at BYU was Kalani. Okay. So, like, I think Kalani's deserved the respect. Hopefully we all give him that. I am bullish about where the roster's at because of all the talent that they've brought back. And to Hunter's point, they're not done, but the guys that they've brought in, of the 7, 6 of them were Power 4 guys, and 5 of them had multiple career, like multiple years of starting at the Power 4 level. Like, Zach Yamuchi was a true freshman this year, started 4 games at Stanford. Paki Finau, was kind of like the 6th offensive lineman for Washington. Junior Sia was the starting right tackle at Utah State. Walker Lyons played a bunch of snaps at USC this year. We're rumored to be connected to Roger Saliapaga, who just entered the transfer portal out of Oregon. He was, the 3rd tight end in a tight end room that had Kenyon Sadiq and Jamari Johnson. Like, Roger Saliapaga got snaps in that tight end room. So it's,
he had a touchdown in a playoff game.
Yeah, it's and not only that, like, they scheduled that up for him because he was such a likable guy. Like, when he scored, the entire team went nuts for him. Like, those are the kind of guys that I want at BYU. Good culture guys, good leaders, but also dang talented athletes. On offense, just real quick, with the offensive line guys, do you feel like, I feel like BYU's weakness last year was offensive line. Do you feel better about where the offensive line room is at right now than you did a year ago?
100%.
100%. I think so. Like, Paki Finau,
you have Gentry coming back.
Like, between Mauchi and Paki Finau, they had 20 competing offers between them, and Junior Sia, as a true freshman, started every single game at Utah State. Like, I am thrilled if those are depth guys, fantastic. If those are starters, like, at this point, like, BYU upgraded the floor of what their offensive line is this year. I think that much is clear.
And you got 2 guys that are going to go be big targets for a quarterback in
Walker
in his 2nd year.
Walker, I think, is a seamless fit with what
play.
Carson Ryan offered you last year. And then Kyler Casper, I don't really know much about him. He seems really fluid for a 6'6" wide receiver.
I was gonna say I know he's 6'6".
My only
225.
My only concern is that 3 years in, we only have practice tape. Like that.
But it's also like Oregon, right?
He's had
like
a lot of
Oregon.
injuries.
So, I don't know if he's going to be Chase Roberts, but I like the pedigree. I like bringing in a guy of that size, that talent, that fluidity, to come in and get a fresh start at a school like BYU, because BYU does well with guys like that. Hypie Awards.
It's award season.
It is award season.
We don't have music, but we have winner graphics. Maybe I can play music. I don't know. Let me see.
The Hypie Awards are presented by Wilner O'Reilly Immigration Law. When it comes to immigration, you want lawyers you can trust. Wilner O'Reilly brings 26 years of experience, including a former immigration officer on the team. They represent actors, professional athletes, Fortune 500 companies, and families, ensuring that everyone has access to top-tier legal support. They speak 10 languages, including Spanish, and despite what you see on TV and social media, they're achieving great results every single day. As a listener of the Hype Train podcast, your consultation is completely free. Visit WilnerO'Reilly.com in the link and mention the Hype Train to get started. Wilner O'Reilly, trusted immigration attorneys.
Is that music playing?
I like it. This is like the hotel lobby music in Mexico. Nothing beats a Jet 2 holiday.
Nominees. Let's start with newcomer of the year.
Okay, I like it.
Trevor, our nominees were.
Yeah, newcomer of the year. We had Bear Bachmeyer, obviously freshman coming in, transfer from Stanford. Carson Ryan, transfer from Utah. Keonu Tanavasa, transfer from Utah. And then Nusi Tamopeo as an incoming freshman as well.
And the winner of newcomer of the year is, see how long it takes to update this, Carson Ryan.
Hey, I like it.
That's the right answer.
Obviously, I think Bear's probably the best newcomer, but in terms of stage and what the expectations were and a new face, it didn't feel like Bear was a newcomer. But Carson Ryan in his 1 year at BYU, he had phenomenal games. He kind of seemed to bring that energy in the locker room as well. Being fired up after the Utah win was awesome, and I think a sneaky good season for the tight ends.
I mean, people were saying that Aaron Roderick doesn't use tight ends. We were fearing the death of the tight end at BYU, and he brought it back with 45 catches, 620 yards. That would lead the team in a lot of years over the last 10, 15 years.
Game of the year nominees, Trevor.
Yeah, game of the year, BYU at Arizona. That game went to double overtime. BYU versus TCU, Joe, you mentioned probably BYU's most complete game as a team. BYU versus Utah, really not much else that needs to be said about that. And then BYU's comeback win against Iowa State.
And the winner, no surprise here for game of the year as voted on by fans, BYU versus Utah.
One of my dream and vision for this, whenever we have the game of the year, is for it to not be Utah. That's my dream.
Can you imagine what it would take
as fans
to have it be anything but this game?
I mean,
if BYU would have beaten
Kansas State last year, what was the answer to that?
It was Kansas State.
Okay, well,
last year, if BYU had beaten Texas Tech in the conference championship, that's the only thing I think that would have beaten,
or a playoff game or something.
Yeah.
And it doesn't help that Utah was actually really good, top 10 power rated team.
That's the thing. This win over Utah might have been the best win of the decade.
It's the moments, right? It's big noon kickoff. The stage was set. It lived up to the hype. And Bear Bachmeyer ran over 7 Utah defenders into the end zone.
Speaking of moment of the year, Trevor, the nominees.
Yeah, we'll keep it right here. BYU versus Utah. There was a bear on the loose in Provo. Some say that he still hasn't gotten caught yet. And then there was LJ's breakaway to seal it against Cincinnati. And ultimately, I guess, seal BYU's appearance in the Big 12 championship. Chase Roberts, Super Y against Utah, started a movement. And then lastly, Satuala's pick 6 against Iowa State to just slam the door on what was awesome comeback.
And the winner for moment of the year, we'll keep it right here. As Trevor said, there is a bear on the loose in Provo. Bear Bachmeier's touchdown run versus Utah.
I wanted it to be LJ's running it in Cincinnati just because that's
Joe's microphone you're killing me, Joe, right now. Muting you till we can fix the mic. Incredible moment. A where were you kind of moment for BYU. It's up there with Collie 4th and 18, up there with Beck to Harleen, up there with Parker Kingston's punt return versus Kansas State, and all the other infamous moments for BYU over the last several years.
Just the crowd pop alone.
I knew it was
crowd pop I've ever experienced.
I knew it was a special moment, a truly special moment when all 3 of my kids were there for the crowd pop and none of them cried. They knew.
I cried tears of joy.
We shed tears for them all, Trevor. I promise.
Breakout player of the year, Trevor. The nominees.
Yeah, breakout player of the year. Faletau Satuala, Logan Lutui, Evan Johnson, Parker Kingston.
The winner. I don't think there's any surprise here.
Yeah,
Faletau Satuala.
BYU's next great defensive NFL player.
When he was rumored to be going to Michigan, it was the most devastating part of it all. Wasn't like, oh, he might not be playing at BYU next year. It was, if he is announcing himself on the Sunday Night Football intros in the NFL in 2 years and is not saying BYU or Brigham or whatever other Kyle Van Noy iteration you would like to use, like that would be the most heartbreaking part of it all.
Like, he is the most talented BYU defensive player we've had since Fred Warner. Right?
I agree.
Special.
Like,
I'll agree.
Dog. Second team All-American as a sophomore. Just unbelievable.
Special teams player of the year, Trevor, the nominees.
Yeah,
Grimes.
I love these. Kevin Doe with.
Did you understand why I put Kevin Doe?
Yeah, because he blocked the player into the ball. Yeah, no,
the most memorable special teams moment of the season.
I love it. And then Joe, you mentioned obviously Mr. Consistent Garrison Grimes. Parker Kingston is electric anytime he touches a punt return. Unfortunately, at the beginning of the year was good or bad at times. And then the punter, Sam Vanderhaar.
The winner, special teams player of the year, is Parker Kingston. Again,
Kevin Doe robbed.
Kevin Doe did get robbed. He started off pretty shaky, I think. Like, there's a couple of muff punts early on. They tried Tiger Bachmeier out for a little bit. Tiger was fielding punts next to Gatorade coolers 10 rows into the stands. And so Parker reclaimed his job back. And I think from that point on, it was a pretty seamless and flawless execution on his part. He obviously had the big return, I think, against UCF. That kind of started to put that game away for BYU. So
I said
an easy answer here.
During the Stanford game, I said, and I quote, "I'm done with the Parker Kingston experiment." And I was immediately wrong.
I would love the Parker Kingston experiment to come back.
Yes.
About 5 minutes later. Offensive player of the year. Trevor, nominees.
Yeah, some familiar names already from different nominations, but LJ Martin, 1,000-yard rusher for BYU this year. Chase Roberts. Chase has been on the case since his freshman year here. Bear Bachmeier, the bear on the loose in Provo, and then our special teams player of the year making another appearance, Parker Kingston.
Parker's been on a lot of these leaderboards so far. I don't know if he comes away with this one because offensive player of the year is Bear Bachmeier.
Stud, man. One of the greatest true freshman seasons in NCAA history. But supposedly, I'd rather have Devin Dampier throwing over the middle,
dumping it off to tight
Get
ends.
out of here with that. I think the most impressive part about
Lawrence,
like it's Trevor Lawrence, Jake Fromm, Jalen Hurts, Bear Bachmeier.
I mean, that's
and then
aside
Hank
from Jake
Bachmeier.
Fromm, aside from Jake Fromm, but those are all NFL guys. Jake
Like,
Fromm.
and the most impressive thing about it to me is like you take away his superpower, which is running, he's still going to throw for 300 on your head. Like you either pick one or the other. He's going to have 300 total yards no matter what happens. You take the distribution as you like.
I think the craziest part about that is like, think of the schools that are on the list for those other quarterbacks. It's Clemson, Alabama, and Georgia. Like those are easy schools to win at and be successful at, right? Like you're absolutely smothered in talent at every position around you. You're playing behind NFL offensive lines. You're playing with NFL wide receivers. With, you know, at the time, your head coach was Nick Saban. Kirby Smart was at Georgia for that, and Dabo Swinney, like three of the best college coaches of the past 2 decades. And then it's Bear, Bachmeier, Kalani, BYU on that list. So I think that is the most incredible part of all of it, is like, obviously Bear had a tremendous season, but the guys who had that level of success before were throwing to just like NFL players, handing the ball off to NFL players, being protected by NFL guys at nearly every position. And Bear, like, that's not a discredit to the talent BYU had, because BYU still had a very good team, but clearly like the wide receivers, the offensive line that BYU had this year was not like Georgia and Alabama. Defensive Player of the Year nominees.
Yeah, this one gave me the most pause when I was voting. I'm interested to see the outcome of this one. First and foremost, you've got Evan Schmev Johnson, 5 picks this year, making Hunter look real good with his predictions. Jack Kelly, he'll be in the NFL. Faletau Satuala, we've obviously talked about him as breakout player of the year. And then the captain, a friend of the podcast, Tanner Wall.
The winner of Defensive Player of the Year. All great options. I agree. Toughest choice, but Jack Kelly comes away with the win.
Wow. I'm kind of surprised.
I've decided that we need a Mr. BYU award for the guy who most embodies what BYU football means. Because like Tanner Wall, you know, the Tanner Walls, the Chase Roberts, the Trey Alexanders, like they need recognition. This was the right answer. Like Jack Kelly was a menace. 9.5 sacks this year, second among all P4 linebackers. I don't know where that stands in the last like decade of BYU football players, but
I'm not even going to look it up. It's number 1, I'm sure.
I used to pray for times like this of having a BYU football player have 9 sacks in a single season.
Just a game wrecker.
Yeah,
just a game wrecker in every sense of the word. He blocked a punt with his face and then returned it for a touchdown against Portland State, and it only got better from there with Jack Kelly.
My only regret is that we didn't have him for longer.
Yep.
Frankly, that was his regret too. He wanted to be here longer as well.
Selfishly, I wanted Evan Johnson, but like no wrong answers here. I think it might be a little early for Satuala. He got that breakout player of the year. But yeah, between all 4 of these guys, like the BYU defense was just awesome. And the fact that they're reloading the way they are is even more awesome. Last award, or 2 more awards. The second most important award that we give out, the Hypie Heisman. Trevor, the nominees.
Yeah, Hypie Heisman. Guys that we've all talked about already. Bear Bachmeier, LJ Martin, Jack Kelly, who just won Defensive Player of the Year, and Parker Kingston, our Special Teams Player of the Year.
So you have the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year. You have the Hypie Offensive Player of the Year. Hypie Defensive Player of the Year, Hypie Special Teams Player of the Year, all vying for the Hypie Heisman. Incredible company. And the winner is LJ Martin.
Top 3 running back, top 4 running back in BYU history already.
Jamal,
Algier, Staley, LJ.
Staley.
Like when his career is over, are we going to be talking about him like in the Jamal Willis category, or are we going to be talking about him in like the Jamal Willis category?
You also have like Curtis Brown, Harvey Unga. Like it's just, and he might be. But the thing is, he's probably ahead of him. Like that's how good LJ Martin is.
Like he would have been drafted in the NFL this year had he gone. I think he'll make more at BYU than he would as a 5th round pick, but like,
yeah.
LJ is the man. 1,300 yards rushing, 12 rushing touchdowns, with 11 of those being stolen by Bear Bachmeier.
He would have had 4 touchdowns in the first half of the bowl game alone.
Wins
with the way BYU got to the 1 yard line.
Like war champion wins above replacement.
LJ's awesome. Stoked he's coming back for another year. Incredible. I cooked with the Evan Johnson take, but my LJ take before the season was the best take I've ever had. That if he was healthy, he'd be the offensive player of the year in the Big 12.
That's a good one. I also predicted 1,300 yards for him before the season, so hit that one right on the nose.
Also,
what have you done, Trevor?
Also, the first interview we've ever done. We've done like 2 interviews on this podcast, and it was with LJ and Jake Retzlaff. And then we're like, yeah, we're not going to do interviews anymore.
And Aiden Robbins, but
did we have Aiden on?
Yeah, we had Aiden. We also had Gall. I feel so bad. Fullback.
Mason Wake?
Yes. Mason was our very first one.
What a time.
I mean, we did do those. We did the cruise interviews, I guess.
That's true.
Well. We've also had a lot of guests. This year, we had 3 guests that stood out above all other guests. Trevor, the nominees for the most prestigious award we give out, the Hype Train Guest of the Year award.
Yeah, Guest of the Year. Last year, Jackson ran away with it. He had to work extra hard this year.
He was the only contestant last year.
His competitors, Heme Hemuli and Casey Lundquist,
who probably don't know that they're up for this award.
No, they have no clue.
Meanwhile, Jackson's losing sleep.
Jackson's been up at night ever since he was bamboozled by an AI photo of Braden Cosper being the stunt man for Stranger Things and Steve Harrington. That a brutal slip up right before award season. And the winner, because of that slip up, Emma Hamuli. I'm just kidding. It's a forfeit for Jackson Payne.
Let's go.
I was like, wait, what? That's not right.
The graphic did not load as quickly as I had hoped.
Jackson in shambles.
I tried to find the best photos his Instagram had to offer. So.
I love it so much.
Oh, it's so
Congratulations. Good. Congratulations, Jackson. If you're still sitting with us at 10:30 on a live stream, you win the Hypie Heisman as well. Just absolute
fans of the year.
Do want to give a shout out to some of our other sponsors, Odeon Menswear, and then a new sponsor we have now is Letterman Golf. New startup, selling BYU brand licensed golf gear. They have some really awesome driver head covers, putter head covers, ball markers, really high quality. We're partnering with them to do a giveaway. So if you follow Letterman Golf on Twitter and retweet our Hype Train post, you enter into a chance to win a free driver cover and putter cover from Letterman Golf. So first to know.
I mean, I need to get on this retweet game.
I know, dude, they're so nice. Oh, what a time. It's been fun, boys. And it's just going to keep getting better. We're not done yet.
Don't show me the other BYU podcast that's 10:30 at night on a Tuesday in the football off season. That's just talking ball right now. You show me that podcast.
Just a bunch of ball lovers, man. It's what we do.
Unfortunately, this is where it comes to an end now. 10:30 is my hard stop.
Yep.
I love
Same
BYU
here.
to
Love
be talking
you
at
both.
10:29, but 10:31, I'll be damned.
Love you both. Love the other passengers on here with us. Go Cougs.
Cougs by a billion.